Hello and welcome to Skyrim Pix episode 3. As always, we've got 5 great images by 5 talented Skygraphers. This week's theme is reflection, not the kind you see when you look at the surface of a still lake, but the thoughtful kind, as in, it's been a long day and now it's time to consider if everything you've done was worthwhile. First up, we have Cold Evenings by Smam711. This is not just a casual shot of a woman sitting in a room thinking to herself. Her hands seem to be removing earrings while she stares straight ahead in deep concentrated thought. The fact that she is removing her earrings before her jacket and scarf gives me the feeling that, as the title says, it's a very cold evening. Furthermore, the orange tones residing on her face and on the bed behind her give the impression that she is sat in front of a fire. Now, the positioning of the subject and the various items in this image are ingenious. We can't see anything in this entire image that isn't cropped in some way. We can see part of an inviting bed, parts of the rug she sat on, a distant wardrobe and a drum, part of it cropped by the edge of the image. Even the subject herself is positioned in such a way that we can't see all of her. This creates tension, visually pleasing tension, in the fact that everything we can almost see immediately becomes more interesting. This image is all about restricting what we can see in order to create a really engaging mood. It doesn't feel like I'm in the scene with her, but as though I'm an unseen onlooker. The second image we're going to look at today is called White Flowers by Black Maid. Now, this image is a work of art for a number of reasons. First, we have the sight of the skeleton sitting on the edge of the rock. We're used to seeing these bone men enemy things in very hostile situations. This screenshot creates a very powerful atmosphere simply by allowing us to gaze upon the subject in a very human-like, intimate way. Now, it's still possible to call it an it, but at the same time the question arises in the mind, should it actually be a he? The idea that a skeleton can feel anything or think anything is really interesting. Then we have the beautiful flowers in the middle ground towards the right of the image. They are slightly blurred, but not as blurred as the background. This strengthens our sense of depth while looking at the image. Now, there is a contrast between life and death here. The dainty, fresh white flowers have something the skeleton can never have. The skeleton's head is bowed to the ground. His face, by this point I've decided it's a he, his face is hidden in the shadows. The flowers, in contrast, are facing the sun, basking in its rays. The posture of the skeleton seems to suggest regret. The message of the image seems to be, life is precious. Next we have Riverwood by Kaylana. Now there are 2 main things which make this image captivating. First, we have the beautiful autumn tones highlighting the image. We can see the gentle glow of colour brushing across the woman's face, her neck, the dock she sat on and the farmhouse rooftops. A distant mill can be seen in the background, the water below the wheel only faintly picking up the autumn glow. Her pose is the second main thing that makes this image really appealing. Her head is turned to the side, as though trapped in a long thought process. She even has 2 fingers raised on her right hand, a further indication of just how deeply she is in thought. The mood of this image seems rather deep, in the sense that the atmosphere around the subject is calm and mellow. Evening has just set in. A figure can be seen in the distance to the right, and yet the woman does not seem to be particularly relaxed. Almost as though she is trying to take a break from whatever her day entailed, but she can't switch off the thought cogs. The fourth image we're going to look at today is called Scout Reports and Rumours by Watergrim Dark. Now, this image comes from the Army of Darkness story, chapter 7, and features the subject having just returned to his desk to copy some notes into his war journal. I only recently found out about the story series this image relates to, and I would highly recommend reading it if you're not already following it. From what I've read so far, it's highly engaging. But for the purposes of this video, we're going to look at this image independent of its amazing story. So, first thing to note is the angle. Not only is it from above looking down, but the subject is placed off-center, creating an even more visually engaging viewpoint. Whilst looking at this image, I find my head bending slightly from side to side as I try to find a comfortable place to simply view the image. There are a number of interesting things going on. You can see the wall art, featuring warhammers, is in focus, but the art beside it is blurred slightly by the strong candlelight. The scrolls and candle below it are softly focused. To the left there is a wall decoration that's hidden in shadows, yet a bright collection of candles residing below it. The subject is in perfect focus, the rug below his feet out of focus. The large ledger on his desk, along with other items, is blurred. His diary is crisp, but hidden by the shadow of his face. This image is exciting to examine, a constant array of hidden treasures. And last but not least, we have A Day in the Life of Ashra by Panthera Hunter. Not only is the tone of this image breathtaking, the position of the subject successfully rule-breaking, it has both symmetry and patterns softly decorating it. Let me elaborate. The tone of this image feels like a mixture between sepia and green. The technical term would probably be earth tones. Lots of subtle mixtures of greens, browns and creams. The vibe here is definitely relaxed, almost to a meditative level. The successful rule breaking here is the position of the subject. He is centered, bold, dominant, demanding of your attention. Now, we did discuss the rule of thirds in the first episode of Skyrim Pix, how this rule is just a guideline and how it can be skillfully broken. This is another fine example of the rule, or rather general compositional guideline, being broken. The image still looks compelling when adhering to the rule of thirds, but it also looks compelling in its original state. I believe it works well partly because of the symmetry and patterns found within this image. The trees in the image are bending inwards, and even though the one on the right is further back than the one in the centre, they appear to bend towards each other almost like a reflection. The large branch on the fallen tree that the subject is sitting on is also leaning inwards, contributing to this universal symmetry. And as for the patterns, the prominent lines running down the length of the fallen tree, contrasted by the detailed shapes of the ivy, create an additional focal point for the viewer. It's also interesting that the subject is sat on the edge of the ivy, his legs trailing down across the tidy leaves. That's it for this week. As always, please find the Skygraphers linked in the description, and if you loved their images like I did, please endorse them. Also, if you enjoy Skyrim Pix, please like and subscribe. I'm open to suggestions on themes and ideas. Please let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you all next week with episode 4.